Hello everyone, my name is Chris and this is my channel, The Apprentice Builder Chris. I'm trying to figure out how to make perfect models. Just follow along with my adventures. Hello everybody, welcome to my new video. This time we are building one for our collection again, the Tamiya Renault 24011. You just have seen some pictures of the building sheet. There's some pictures of the sprues that are passing, but soon we have to be the details. So first sprue, a black sprue, another black sprue, parts of the suspension, the yellow sprue with the driver and parts of the body, and then a clear sprue, and then a chrome sprue, very chromy, I must say. So I start by cutting everything from the sprues. This is a technique I recently saw on another video, and I thought that helps me because I used to work in order of the building sheet, and often I was frustrated because I had been painting and spraying paint, and afterwards I saw that some parts needed to be in the same color that I already painted. So now I use a technique, cutting everything loose, checking the building sheet, and then marking on the building sheet the colors that it has to be. And then I'm using an organizer box where I put everything, every part in the box that has to be the same color, but also sorting out what's for the interior, what's for the suspension, what's for the chassis, what's for the body. Look, here I show you the body. It's a nice yellow, but it's very shiny, so I'm gonna do a replace. So this is my sorting system I use. So I put everything that has to be a certain color in a certain compartment of the box. So then you are sure that you have everything that has to be painted at that moment. Body color, the chassis color, parts that has to be one color or two-tone. So I find this an easy way to not forget something afterwards that has to be painted yet. So perhaps it's something you can consider to use. So I work on several projects at one time, so in the sorting box I tape it off with the content of which box it is, which car it is. So now everything is cut loose, and now we start test fitting everything. So I'm looking at the build sheet, starting with the wheels. I use panel liner from Tamiya because the chrome is very shiny, so I try to dull it down a bit because it's otherwise it looks like a toy and not like a car. So I use this technique to get the shine a little bit more down. I do all four wheels, and I start with the engine assembling, looking at the build sheet, the rotor, then I mark everything that I have done. Then some parts I already can glue because they have the same color than the chassis. I'm looking out for the parts where already has been cleaned up. And this is a part that you can use when you use the car as a slot car. When you use the battery, it goes on to protect the chassis like this. But I don't use that part. So now test fitting everything. And then marking things that I done. And I'm writing the colors because the earlier kits they hadn't had the color code yet. So now I'm test fitting the parts, the clear sprue on the clear part on the body of the car. See where I have to cut and adjust. I use the clipper from Tamiya. And then a carving knife. Then again fitting, tweaking, and fitting again till it fits good. Then I use a permanent marker or a Sharpie, and I highlight the mold lines. When they are casting the plastic, there are mold lines, and that's why I'm using a permanent marker. Then marking out the colors that the body has to be, which part which, the chassis color. Then this is all parts of the battery assemble, because this kit uses 4 batteries to be propulsed. And then I'm checking if everything is right, reading everything, and is it checking, okay, everything is ready. So I'm cleaning the parts in my ultrasonic cleaner with a little bit of dishwashing soap, and I use the water of my condensed dryer because there is no calcium in it. So then the next step is cleaning up the mold lines that I have marked in the previous part, and I'm using a 600 grit sanding sponge for this. And afterwards I also sponge down the rest of the body. Then I scribe out the panel lines, because when you are priming, primer is rather thick, so the panel lines dare to disappear. So I scribe them with a scribing needle from Tamiya, as you can see here. Let me see. And the next part is of course cleaning the body before paint, because the residue of your fingers is on it. Then I put everything on skewers with clips. And here you see me putting ball bearings into my container of paint. I do this with every paint, so the paint is mixed better than when you use a skewer to stir it. So here I start detailing the canopy. One part has to be silver. And I use a very fine brush for the outlining. But you will see later in the video that I thought, I have those fine marker pens. I will try the fine marker pens. Here you see the fine marker pen, but I was not convinced of the results. Then I tried a somewhat bigger chrome marker, but as you can see, it's not covering very good. And I tried again, and I was not satisfied, so I I painted it over. Yeah, trial and error, people, trial and error. So don't be stupid, please. The next step is painting, so protect yourself. Use a mask, use gloves, and use protective clothing. So the first layer of primer is going on now. A very light dusting of prime color, and you do also all the parts that has to be colored. Why do I prime things? Because you don't have to do it. It's the shine on the plastic is very glossy, so if you want to get a certain result, even when it's a black part and you need a black result, you have satin, you have matte, you have gloss, so you can choose then if you have primed it. And I prime everything, even the smallest detail. But again, you must not. It's your own choice. So you are the builder. When you are pleased with your result, then you are pleased. Nobody else has to judge. Here I do a certain part, not the whole part, because it's had. And then I apply the second coat of primer. After the rest is it had a drying time of between 5 and 10 minutes, so that's enough. The second layer, then the first layer of base coat on the body. You start at the sides, and then you go in every corner with your airbrush. Also a very light dusting, but you must cover everything with a light coat of primer. So be very aware, where do you put your first coat. Don't go too thick, just a light dusting. Don't be afraid if it's not everything is covered. It will cover in pass 2 and 3 in the stage. So for the body, I take a drying time of 15 minutes. But in the 15 minutes, you can do a second layer on the parts, you see. So here I do the wing, this first layer. Then the supports of the wing, they have to be white, and that's the air scoop for on the canopy. And this part, yes, I primed it the wrong color. I primed it white, and afterwards I saw that it has to be black, so I repainted it in grey primer. This is the air scoop of the engine. The inside has to be white, and the outside has to be yellow. The helmet of the driver, his helmet has to be white. Then we are on the second coat. I didn't show you everything. It's already, you see, more covered than the first passing. Go well and through into the corners of the car, the air scoops. Then again, I wait 15 minutes. You don't have to. 5 minutes is more than well enough, but I wait 15 minutes. And the second layer on the rest of the parts I do while the chassis is, the body is drying. I'm using 2 spray guns, one with white primer and one with gray primer. So this is the second coat of base color on the chassis. Next up, coloring the parts. That has been primed, so now I'm coloring everything that has to be set in black. In this case, I'm using Tamiya X18, and this is the error that I made that I'm now correcting in the correct color. And then the final layer on the body. That's also the moment between layer 2 and 3. You can check if there are dust particles or errors, and then you can always sand it down a bit. I use normally 1,000 grit sanding paper for this. And now the fun part begins. The assembling of the car. Everything has been painted, everything has been dried. So now I take my sorting box and I commence by getting the parts that I need and reading the building sheet thoroughly and try to figure out how everything goes together by trial and error often. So we are at the first stage of the assembling, and then also I mark everything with my pen that has been done. Then I take everything that has been painted off of the drying stand and put it back in the sorting box. So now the car is finally coming together and coming alive by adding the colors. Some parts has to be colored in with a brush, because if you have to tape this off to airbrush it, I think you will be quite a time busy to do that. So I use a brush for the detailing. Here you see me using a eyeliner brush that I bought on the Amazons. You can buy them in a package of 100 pieces, and I find it very satisfying to use because they have a very fine point, and they last quite a time. They don't even when you use paint cleaner, they don't deteriorate. So again, people, we are painting, so protect yourself. Wear gloves, wear a mask, wear protective clothing, protect your eyes, so be safe. Here's the driver is getting his driver suit color. And then you have to wait for the paint to dry. That's the most annoying thing of model building, I find personally. But this is mostly for the body and the chassis of the car. The other parts, yeah, you can paint very quickly. There's no such a lots of waiting time. These parts I colored after a few hours. When you feel that the color is dry, then it goes on like this. So now I am detailing the driver suit, this seat belts, his racing shoes, as you can see. Yes, I know, I'm doing the soles of his racing shoes and nobody sees it, so but it's for your own satisfaction that you do this. You don't have to take account of anyone else if you know it's there, and if you know it's realistic, then nobody cares. Next up, the driver's helmet. I put some glue pads into his helmet to keep the features of his face, because when you prime, then some of the features disappear because the primer is too thick. So I protect my driver's face, and now I start detailing the helmet and the driver's face. Tamiya's flat flash color. Then light gray for the inside of the helmet. And there you saw me using a toothpick to correct the stains I made. Now I'm trying to paint on the protective mask, that fireproof mask that they wear, the eyes. And it's the end result. Mr. Driver in his driver's seat This is what I have so far. So again, we are painting. Please use protective clothing, wear gloves and a mask, because we are going on with the first coat of the final color. And this is yellow from Tamiya. And then the first layer is on, so you let it dry for 5 minutes. Then the second layer, somewhat heavier. Again, we are not going for the gloss because there are gonna be lots of decals on it, and then you won't see the paint, not so much. Another drying time for 5 minutes just to get it tacky. So in the meanwhile, I do the spoiler of the car. That has to be the same color of the body. I taped off the wing carrier because earlier I painted it X2 Tamiya white. Again, dry time. Then the final layer. But it will be mostly covered by decals. So, and over the decals I will go with a clear coat from Street Blisters, a 2K clear coat. This is a somewhat heavier coat, but not so heavy because you won't see. Most of the body will be covered by decals. Then I put it in my container next to my other projects, and there it can dry for 1 to 3 days. It stays in the box, protected from dust. It's with a lid that secures, and then we are ready for wet sanding. I'm using a wet sanding sponge 1500 grit, and I'm using demineralized water that I recuperated from my dryer. So this water doesn't leave any stains on the paint, and it's the first sanding, so now I'm using 1500 grit. Then I will wipe it down completely, make it wet again, and then use a sanding sponge from 2000 grit. It's just to get dust particles and impurities out of the coat of paint, because then the decals will lie nicely flat on the surface, and then you will not see any bumps or creases. So just sanding it down with 2000 grit. Just be careful you don't burn through the paint. Just light pressure on the sponge, not too hard, because otherwise you will burn through, and you will see the primer coat coming through, so then you have to repaint the complete car. So yeah, also here, same technique. And then I clean up my bench, I dry it. Then here are the original decals. I used just the decals for the helmet of the driver, because by the decals of Indicals I bought, there were no decals for the driver, but instead there were decals for the instrument panel. So that was a nice addition. So let's start cutting out the decals. A little remark by the decals of Indicals: you have to cut them very precise. Just follow every line because they're all printed on one sheet of water transfer paper, and there are no outlines for the decals, so you have to cut out every outline. Otherwise you have one big decal, the complete sheet. So yeah, it takes a little bit of work, but it's okay. So a lot of cutting and precise work to get all the decals out. One of the problems that I always also noted was to release the decals. Was not so that simple because you don't have any edges anymore, and as you can see they are fairly thick, the decals, and they were very difficult to apply to the creases. And even you see me using here decal solution, strong decal solution, and even then I could not smooth them out. They wouldn't go into the creases. So I did the best that I could without damaging the decals, but no, was not not the best result. No. Here you see here I took away even a little slight side piece of the decal. That was the problem. There was always residue of the decal sheet. So when you apply the decals, they wouldn't stick immediately. So even after a few moments they would not stick. So you see, this is the problem, the little pieces of residue, because it's one sheet, so no, not the best, but you have to work with what we have, people. So you have to persist, and even here, when you lay down the decals, even with this an ear pick, it's not simple. Again, decal solution, very difficult to make them bend. So, but yes, the originals were completely shot. I could not use them, so you do what you do best. But when you see the result grow, yeah, it's quite satisfying that you see the cars change so much with decals. That's very satisfying. Then the excess of water, clean it away, because when you put down decals and your surface is wet, they're gonna start dissolving. So be aware of your workstation. See, one half. It's quite a difference between the first half and the second half. Then the second half. I tried the system with the scissors. It went somewhat easier than with the cutting blade. And as you see, when you do some things for the first time, you don't go like you want, and then you try another way. So I worked from backwards with the decals, from the back of the car to the front of the car, and it was somewhat easier to put the decals on, because I was going with my hand instead of against my hand. Here also the decals did not quite close up to each other. Again, I don't understand why this had to be in 3 parts, because you get lines where the decals meet. So here also you had to cut very precise. You can see me struggle. They won't go around bends very easy, because they are so tough. They are thick. Detailing. That's the result. You see here, I marked out where it's not. They're not close enough, so I had to paint in some of the parts. So here I used some black paint to make some retouches. That's the decals. That's a nice addition, the decals for the dashboard. So here you see, nearly there. So now you have to clear coat the 2K clear. I'm using clear coat from 3 blisters. There are 3 parts, so you have to mix them by a certain ratio. This is the first layer. I hold my spray gun a fair amount away from my model. For the first layer, then you want to wait 5 minutes to let it flash off. Then the second layer I go somewhat closer with the spray gun, somewhat thicker, because there's already one protective layer over the decals, so they won't dissolve, because too clear is very strong. Then again, let it flash off for 5 minutes, and then the thick layer go up somewhat more closer, somewhat thicker, and you must be aware that you reach every part of the car. And then the waiting game. You best let it dry between 3 and 5 days so it hardens out, and then the wet sanding starts. This bottle is distilled water that I get from my dryer, so there's no chalk residue in the water. And then wet sanding, always go in the same direction. do not do circles because you get scratches like this. And now a little bit more water, then the second stage, 8000 grit. Same technique. Again, clean it off, then 10,000 grit. It's starting to shine. Again, then I use a microfiber cloth, clean the bench. That's the result. And then I use Tamiya compound. Just first course, little dots, and same technique, always go in the same direction. And no circular motions. And you have to rub it in until it gets dry. So the more you polish, the more the shine is coming through. Because there's polishing in it. So here you see me using the micro cloth, so to rub it even further in. Then the fine compound. Same technique. Polishing. Again, with the microfiber cloth, polishing it in, and then the finishing, a somewhat smaller polishing pad. Again, and then I rinse it off to get the residue of the polishing compound out of every corner. Skewer, and then drying, again polishing, and that's the end result, nice and shiny. Then the final assembly. This is the most satisfying part of model building, I find personally. When you go to the last stages and you see the model getting completed. Use a marker pen for the outlines of the lamps. Let it dry a bit. You see me shaking. And I always use ball bearings in my paint jars. It's easier than with a skewer. You have to rattle them till they move freely. And retouching. Then marking off everything that I done. Yes, yes, check, check. Turn it. Taping off some on the building sheet that was not marked, but when you look at the box, the side panels has a matte black finish. Clearing the rear lights with red clear. Detailing. I use eyeliner brushes from Amazon to do detailing. They're cheap and they have a very fine point, so it's very nice to work with. Then the final fitting. Here I put extra decal on it from Decals. Gluing in the lenses with clear. The other side. It's starting to come together nicely. Again, some detailing. I saw on the box that in the instructions it said it has to be white inside, and on the box the middle section was flat black. So I did this little bit, this piece in flat black. So here you see some details from the end result. Quite satisfying. So you can see the box is empty. Another project has ended. So you remove the sticker. That's the end result. Quite satisfying. So I hope you liked the video. So if you want, you can subscribe, like and share the video with your friends, and it would help me a lot. And I hope to see you on a next endeavor. I put a sneak preview in for upcoming projects. So thank you for watching, and I wish you a good day and happy holidays, and I see you soon. Bye.
Don't forget, like, subscribe, hit the bell.